Hi, George.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Can't complain. It's a little rainy
I'm
here in LA, but that's all right.
well, I'm so excited to talk to you today and I appreciate your time. I am a new follower of the Million Stories, and recently your George Goes Anywhere.
Yeah.
And I have discovered your new season three. So that's very impressive. So and before we get really rolling, I wanted to just invite you to tell my audience, how you got traveling on this George Goes Anywhere and where they can find you, because I enjoyed watching some of the older seasons to catch up to where you are headed next.
Yeah, it's well, the premise of the show, it's George goes everywhere. But I go to a city and I see basically how much fun I can have without spending more than $100. Just kind of on activities on the ground. And
That's amazing.
we try to hit a bunch of different categories: food, drink, history, culture. Sort of, each episode hopefully has something for everyone, even if you're not into one particular thing. The next thing you might be, and try to really mix it up in that way. And yeah, just I got I've been making travel videos on YouTube for a couple years on my own, and I got linked up with Million Stories through a mutual friend, and just kind of went pretty quickly from there. And now here we are, just finished season 3.
Awesome. Well, I know you're on YouTube, but are you on a website with Million Stories as
Oh,
well?
it's on millionstories.com.
Awesome.
And it's also on their YouTube channel, Million Stories Media, on YouTube.
Okay, cool. Well, I was especially excited by season three because there was a lot of crossover with me, because you go to Austin, Texas, which is my hometown. And then you go to San Francisco, which is where I went to graduate school. And so to imagine you being able to do much of anything in either of those cities for $100 was impressive. So give us a hint. And then Las Vegas, is that
Yeah, Vegas is
right?
on there.
So give us a hint about how you find ways of really enjoying some of the most expensive cities in the United States on a budget. Because I think as a family of four on retired military income, that's impressive and exactly what I want to do. And we look for a little bit about our show is that everybody can live an amazing life wherever they are, with a little positivity and a little bit of effort. And so that's why I was so drawn to your show is, we don't all have to be a big star to live a star's life, right? Because it's about shining in your own life. So I was like, this man is going everywhere on $100, and he is not scared off of San Francisco or Las Vegas. So I want to know more.
Well, I'm a big proponent of just putting in a lot of research beforehand, which is not to say you can't also fly by the seat of your pants sometimes. But I think when you go to a new city, put in some time, dig deeper than you think you have to. Don't go beyond that first page of Google results, that first page of TripAdvisor results, because a lot of those places are going to be kind of the more touristy stuff that are going to be more expensive. And just kind of try to branch out and see things that maybe most tourists don't even hear about, because usually they're more reasonably priced, I've found. And a lot of times even the locals don't know about them. And so that's always something. When you can find stuff like that, not only is it a lot of fun, but usually it's more appropriately priced.
Right, right. And I did you a little disservice. I'm sorry. I believe I said George Goes Anywhere, but you go
Oh,
everywhere, which is
right.
all the better. Um, uh, you know, uh, but that's a really good point, is putting in the time, which again, as I was saying with the Pebble, it's not that positivity fixes everything. You have to put in the effort, but it's there, right? The ability to do these things is there. It's just that the world doesn't maybe necessarily make it the easiest thing.
Right. Yeah.
And
You gotta if you want to, you gotta kind of outwork the money situation a little bit.
right.
It's just put in a few extra hours in research, but and you can save yourself some money, I believe.
What would you say was your the most surprising place that you felt like, oh, this place, there's no way I'm going to be able to have an awesome time on $100, and then you were like, wow, I just this was insane. I had $100 and it was incredible.
Do you mean in of this all 3 seasons or just this
Yes,
past
if
season?
any of your places you got to visit.
Okay, I've gotten this question a lot actually, and I always say my big surprise was Milwaukee, um, because it's a smaller city, compared to like the Chicago's and New York's and LA's, but it's the longest episode of season one because there was just a lot to do, and everyone agreed to work with us, and it was a very pleasant surprise. But I'll also add though this season in Seattle, I there's a bunch of very cool destinations in the Seattle episode, which is premiering in I think 2 weeks from Tuesday. Um,
Exciting.
and yeah,
Seattle's a beautiful city.
yeah,
I'm a big fan of Seattle.
me too. I'd been there
Um,
before. I was happy to return.
I miss San Francisco for a lot of things. I think the Pacific Ocean is one of the most amazing things in the world, but there's a reason I don't still live there, especially now having children, because I think they think four people living in a closet is not an appropriate way to raise children. So, yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm excited to see how you managed those Northwest uh, states, because they are pricey, but they are beautiful.
yeah,
So,
super beautiful.
and what would you say is your number one tip from having, besides the research which you shared? Is there any other thing that you really feel like you've learned from the road and doing this?
Um, I mean, I have a lot of tips of finding like cool things in cities. I mean, one things I do is I like try to look at sometimes I look at what the sports teams are named because that can kind of give you a little insight into the city's history and culture. Also like what the city's nicknames are, stuff like that. Like things and you say like, well, why is it known as, the Queen City or whatever? I think that's Cincinnati's named that, I think. But and research that, then you find like oh,
Buffalo.
there's a history
Buffalo's the
there. And there's
Queen
something linked
City.
why is Portland known as Stumptown, and stuff like that, and just you kind of find the history, then that leads you down some paths, and then you start looking for things, and then it just gives you more, I think, organic experience in the city, and also just more unique and usually more affordable.
Right. No. Well, it's like if you want a passage to people working with you in Buffalo, you got it. You got to at least pretend to be a Bills fan. I'm just telling you. As a person who's only lived there 6 months, I immediately became a Bills fan because you
Really?
just must. It's life or death there. So I'm
I'll admit, I went to grad school in Syracuse actually,
oh,
and
okay. So
so
you're a little
that's like
familiar with the Bills Mafia.
a little familiar. I'll admit I'm a Giants fan, but Syracuse is kind of 50-50 a little bit. It's like 50 Giants, 50 Bills. So I
Oh.
was okay up there. But yeah, in Buffalo, I'd have to hide that fandom.
Yes, you would. Well, yes, you would. But I appreciate that. Giants fans are pretty sturdy fans too. So I won't, since I'm only adopted, I really like the dog in my fight is a very small little, yappy dog. Okay.
Yeah.
But well, I do I hear you on that. So you do a lot of research, you kind of find out what makes that city unique and use those as your points of entry to find instead of the big flashy things that everybody looks for.
Yeah. That's what I try to do. And usually it plays better for the show, but it's just more fun, even when you're not making a show. And
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I lived in Galveston, Texas for a long time, and I think it's a very underrated city as far as some of the real unique historical options and opportunities. And I think you're right. I think of people like kind of went down its rabbit hole, you'd be amazed at some of the special things. So I get you there.
yeah.
Well, I think that's really awesome, and I really, like I said, I enjoyed the episodes I got to see, and I really the season 3 is my season, man. I'm ready. I'm ready for those cities. And if
Yeah.
you manage to tackle those in 100, you're doing your work, and I'm learning from you because we lived in a 32-foot trailer for a year and a half with my children. We traveled right after my husband retired, and I know how quickly $100 just is.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm going to be learning from you.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to thank you for your time and offering your travel tips to the Pebble. And you really represent a lot of what we're offering up, which is if you throw a pebble of positivity into the sea, we can turn the tide on negativity. And I totally think that, like with these little tips, you make travel a lot more positive. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Have a great day.